Welcome everyone. So today we're taking a really fascinating look into a masterpiece of Hindi literature. It's a story that's literally over a century old, but honestly, it feels like it could have been written yesterday. We're talking about Munshi Premchand's absolute classic, Bade Bhai Saheb, which translates to Elder Brother. And look, we aren't just summarizing it, we're going to break down its cultural depth and really get into the psychology of these characters. My goal with this explainer is to completely unpack this narrative, so you walk away with a crystal clear understanding of this timeless tale.
But before we get into the actual plot, keep this one question in the back of your mind. Which is greater, bookish knowledge or life experience? Now, this isn't just some abstract philosophical debate. It is the absolute thematic core of the entire story. Every single interaction, every conflict, every heartfelt moment between these two brothers revolves around this exact tension. So, let's get into it.
Section 1. The nature of the two brothers.
Okay, the contrast between these two guys could not be starker. We've got the older brother, now he's 5 years older than our narrator, but strangely, he's only 3 academic classes ahead of him. Why? Well, because he believes in laying a really solid foundation. We're talking spending 2, sometimes 3 years in a single class, just constantly having a book open in front of him. But the tragic part here is that because he's the elder sibling, he carries this immense, heavy burden of setting the perfect example. To keep up that ideal image, he's basically completely sacrificed his own childhood. Meanwhile, you have the younger brother, our narrator. He's totally restless. For him, studying for even 1 hour is like climbing Everest. The very second he gets a chance, he just bolts to the playground. Yet, whenever he comes back, he is absolutely terrified of his older brother's scolding.
The older brother actually lectures the younger one all the time, basically telling him, if you just want to waste time, go home and play, instead of throwing away their grandfather's hard-earned money. And man, those lectures hit hard. The younger brother feels terrible, and in this sudden burst of temporary motivation, he decides to completely reform his life. He draws up this incredibly ambitious, practically impossible daily timetable. I mean, it involves waking up at the crack of dawn, intensely studying specific subjects for hours on end, and, this is the best part, allocating literally zero time for playing.
But hey, making a timetable and actually following it, yeah, two very different things. On literally day 1, the moment the younger brother steps outside and gets even a glimpse of the playground, that perfect little plan completely falls apart. The lure of the outdoors is just way too strong, and he goes right back to his playful ways, perfectly setting up the inevitable clash between the two.
Which brings us to our first major turning point, Section 2, Exam Results and Arrogance.
So at the start of the year, there is a nice, comfortable 3-grade gap between the brothers. But when the exam results finally come out, the older brother, the one who literally studies day and night, fails. And the younger brother, who barely even opens a book, not only passes, but actually comes first in his class. So now that academic gap shrinks down to just 2 grades. And naturally, a whole new sense of pride and, frankly, arrogance begins to brew inside the younger brother.
Seeing this growing ego, the elder brother steps in with a really stern warning to reestablish his authority. He basically tells him, don't get arrogant just because you passed once. And he starts listing out the absolute terrors of higher education. He brings up the mind-bending complexities of algebra, the struggles with geometry, the absolute nightmare of memorizing king after king in English history, and the ultimate irony, being forced to write 4-page essays on the topic of punctuality. He paints this grim picture of academic misery just to humble the younger brother, trying to prove that higher classes require massive, grueling effort. But despite all those terrifying warnings, the younger brother still only does the bare minimum. Section 3, Changing Behavior and New Freedom.
Let's see how this all builds up in the second year. The next annual exams roll around, and lightning strikes twice. The younger brother passes again, and the older brother fails once more. When these results come out, both of them end up crying. But look at the gap now. They're literally only 1 grade apart. At this point, the older brother's spirit is understandably broken. He actually softens his tone, realizing he's pretty much losing the moral authority to scold his younger sibling.
Because of this new kind of forced tolerance from the elder brother, the younger brother's freedom just skyrockets, and he misuses his brother's patience entirely. This really dangerous thought takes root in his head. Hey, whether I study or not, I'm going to pass. I'm just lucky. So he basically stops studying altogether. Instead, a new obsession takes over: flying kites. He spends all day outdoors, just completely fearless, chasing and flying kites. Though, to be fair, he does still try to do it out of his brother's direct line of sight to maintain just a tiny sliver of respect.
But this reckless overconfidence sets the stage for the massive emotional climax of the story. Section 4. Bookish knowledge versus life experience.
So one evening, way out far from the hostel, the older brother actually catches the younger one running wildly with a group of boys, chasing a cut kite. The elder brother grabs his hand right there in the market, absolutely furious. He demands to know if the younger brother feels any shame at all. And then he drops this incredibly profound truth. He says, understanding doesn't come from reading books, it comes from seeing the world.
The older brother just delivers this massive reality check. He systematically dismantles the younger brother's arrogance piece by piece. He tells him, look, you're in the 8th grade now, and yeah, you are only one class behind me, but that doesn't erase the simple fact that I am older. I have seen more of life. He warns him to completely drop the delusion that he can just pass without studying, and he makes it fiercely, fiercely clear. As long as he is the elder brother, he will never let the younger one go down the wrong path. He still has the right to guide him, and if words aren't enough, he is willing to use a slap to keep him on track.
It is a super harsh lecture, but it's coming from a place of really deep protective affection, which brings us to Section 5, Realization and Love.
Those words pierce right through the younger brother's ego. Standing there with his head bowed, the younger brother finally feels genuinely small, not just in age, but in maturity and wisdom. All that arrogance just evaporates. With tear-filled eyes, he realizes that everything his older brother is saying is absolutely right, and his respect for him just multiplies infinitely.
But what happens next is it's truly heartbreaking. Seeing his younger brother so remorseful, the elder brother embraces him. And then he reveals his own hidden reality. He confesses, I also want to fly kites, but if I lose my way, how will I protect you? It hits you right then. He had suppressed his own inner child, his own deep desires to just play and have fun entirely for the sake of being a shield and a guide for his little brother.
The story concludes with this beautifully visual, heartwarming sequence. Right as they share this deeply emotional embrace, a cut kite with a dangling string drifts overhead. The older brother, using his taller height, suddenly leaps into the air and catches the string. And then, abandoning all of his strict discipline for just one fleeting moment, he runs toward the hostel, with his younger brother running joyfully right behind him. For that brief second, the whole heavy burden of expectations vanishes, and they are literally just two kids sharing their childhood together.
It's an incredibly moving ending that perfectly bridges the gap between duty and innocence. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this thought. Is there someone in your life who forgot their own childhood or put their own dreams on hold just to set an example for you? Prem Chand's story, it isn't just about passing exams or flying kites. It's about the silent sacrifices we make out of pure love. Think about that. I really hope this breakdown has given you a whole new appreciation for this classic text. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will see you in our next explainer.